Power is never won by chance. It is engineered. In business, as in politics, the weak wait for invitations. The strong, they build the room, set the table, and command the spotlight. Most fools think networking is about hoarding names, cluttering phones with contacts, stacking business cards like trophies. That's not power. That's pathetic noise. Real networking is gravitational. It's about making others orbit you. Do you want to be the beggar, chasing scraps of attention? Or the center of gravity, the one others claw to sit beside? That's the Machiavellian way. Networking is not friendship. It is empire building. Every connection should reinforce your throne. Every relationship should deepen their dependence on you. Machiavelli taught, fortune favors the bold, not the idle. In networking, boldness is engineering the game itself, not playing as someone else's pawn. Here lie the 7 laws of networking domination. Master them, and your network will not merely grow, it will kneel. Stop begging for a seat. Build the table. Power is not requested. Power is not gifted. Power is constructed, engineered, designed like a fortress of stone, brick by deliberate brick. And yet, you grovel. You shuffle outside doors, clutching invitations like scraps of bread. You wait silently, hoping for permission, hoping someone powerful will notice you, gesture kindly, and let you in. Do you know what that makes you? Pathetic, forgettable, wallpaper. You are the background noise at another man's feast, while he eats, while he dictates, while he decides. Do you not see the truth? The man who hosts is never ignored. The man who builds the table is not a guest. He is the master of the hall. He does not beg. He does not orbit. He is the sun, blazing at the center. And others? They are mere planets, forced into his orbit, circling his fire, feeding on the heat he alone provides. But you, right now, you drift. Conference to conference, event to event. You paste on your smile. You hand out cards like confetti. You pray someone remembers your name. And in their eyes, you are nothing. A shadow. A speck of dust lost in the crowd. Disposable, replaceable, already forgotten by the time you leave the room. Machiavelli himself warned against such weakness. He who rises on the fortune of others collapses when it changes. Understand this. If you lean on another man's stage, you are fragile. If you kneel on another man's ground, you are his subject. When his fortune dies, so do you. But when you own the stage, when you command the room, when you decide who speaks, who shines, who wins, then by default, you win. Always. So what would Machiavelli do? He would not wait like a dog at the door. He would not send timid messages begging for access. He would summon his own court, not a chaotic mob, not random names pulled from the noise, but a chosen circle of killers, 6 to 8 operators of consequence, titans, wolves, and he would bring them together on his terms, in his place, under his timing, not once, but repeatedly, monthly, predictable, inevitable, a feast, a salon, a council, a ritual of power. And when the council ended, he would seize the narrative. The recap would not be neutral. It would be his words, his voice, his framing of events, published, spread, made public, and the message would be carved into stone. If you were absent, you were irrelevant. History was written without you. This is not networking. This is not socializing. This is empire building. Every gathering is a fortress. Every invitation is a sword. Every recap is propaganda that strengthens your throne. This is how kings are made, not by begging, not by waiting, but by constructing their own halls of power. So understand, kings don't beg for thrones. They build them. And once the throne is built, the world comes crawling on knees and hands just for the privilege to sit at its foot. This is Law 1 of networking power. Build thrones, not chairs. Be the room.
Hey guys, we're Strategy, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
Stop trading commodities. Bring what cannot be copied. Power does not flow to the loudest voice. It flows to the rarest one. Scarcity magnetizes. Scarcity commands. Scarcity bends people into orbit as iron bends to a magnet. But you show up with cliches, with platitudes stolen from LinkedIn posts, with recycled words that smell of weakness. And what happens? They nod. They smile politely. They move on. You vanish from their memory before the conversation has even ended. Do you not see it? Ordinary is invisible. Replaceable is forgettable. If you are common, you are nothing. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He warned rulers never to rely on mercenaries. Why? Because mercenaries have no spine, no loyalty, no permanence. His words were sharp. Mercenaries are useless and dangerous. If one holds his state on these arms, he will never stand firm or secure. Now replace mercenaries with generic advice. That's you. Interchangeable, expendable, disposable. If your value can be copied, you are a mercenary. And mercenaries are slaughtered when real power arrives. But if you bring what is scarce, what no one else can replicate, then you become indispensable. That is your citizen army, loyal, rooted, irreplaceable. So what does this mean for you today? It means you must choose a rare value lane and carve it into stone. Maybe it is distribution, your ability to push messages where others cannot. Maybe it is a deal flow, introductions and opportunities that live only in your vault. Maybe it is intelligence, the insights no one else has the courage, the patience, or the cunning to unearth. Whatever it is, when people know you hold the rare metal, they will chase you. They will return again and again. They will bend themselves around your orbit because scarcity enslaves. And what would Machiavelli do? He would never waste breath on recycled slogans. He would hunt the monopoly. Intel no one else could access. Connections no one else could replicate. And when he had it, he would package it with elegance. Short, sharp, lethal briefs. Ruthless one-pagers. Targeted insights designed like daggers. And he would never wait for permission to speak. He would deliver them unasked, like a sovereign bestowing coin from his mint. He would let others feel the weight of his rarity, and once they tasted it, he would own them. Because no man forgets the source of rare treasure. No man walks away from the only well in the desert. Understand this, power does not come from noise. It comes from scarcity, from being the one thing they cannot find elsewhere. The rarest coin is the most chased. The rarest voice is the most obeyed. So burn this into your mind. Be the mint of rare currency, and power will always flow back to you. This is Law 2 of networking power. Unequal value. Bring what's scarce. Rise by tethering yourself to higher ground. Because in power, altitude decides everything. Altitude decides who notices you. Altitude decides who listens to you. Altitude decides who lets you in and who shuts you out. And here is the brutal truth. Talent alone does not open doors. Talent is silent if it isn't paired with perception. What opens doors is altitude, the unmistakable aura of height, and altitude is never given. It is engineered, forged, crafted by deliberate association with power itself. But you remain vague. You walk into rooms with introductions that carry no weight. You speak, But your words evaporate. No proof, no authority, no altitude. And the result? You are invisible. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you introduced yourself only to watch the other person's eyes glaze over? That wasn't because you were boring. It was because you gave them nothing to anchor your worth. Your introduction was weak, and weak introductions are silent assassins. They kill your presence before it ever begins. Machiavelli knew this danger. He warned, "It is better to be thought rash than timid, for with time, fortune aids the bold." Why? Because timidity signals weakness. Weakness invites contempt, and contempt kills influence. If you enter timid, underselling yourself, you invite dismissal. You are ignored. You are shut out of higher courts before the gates even open. But if you enter boldly, tethered to power, declared with authority, fortune tilts in your favor. So what does this mean today? It means your altitude must be engineered with precision. You couple your name with undeniable power, not in long-winded stories, not in rambling monologues, but in one sentence, one sharp, heavy, unforgettable sentence of proof. Advisor to Fortune 500 CEOs. Strategist behind $500 million in acquisitions. Founder of the fastest scaling company in its industry. One line, that's all it takes. A single stroke that makes them stop, listen, and slot you into the higher tier without hesitation. And once you have that line, you don't hide it. You brand it everywhere. Your email signature, your profile banner, your website, your introduction at every table. You hammer it into the world until no one can doubt it. Now ask yourself, what would Machiavelli do? He would never walk into a chamber of power uncertain of his worth. He would never allow others to define his altitude. He would craft a ruthless, surgical bio, one sentence, sharp as steel, impossible to ignore. And then he would display it with consistency, not arrogance, strategy. Because in the game of power, the one who defines himself first wins. Understand this, status is not what you claim. Status is what you prove in one breath. If it takes paragraphs, you've already lost. Rise by tethering yourself to higher ground. Because from altitude, you are seen. From altitude, you are respected. From altitude, you command. This is Law 3 of networking power. Status coupling. Position up and across. Stop knocking on locked doors. Enter through trusted gates. Think about it. When you send a cold message, when you chase strangers without connection, what happens? Your words vanish into the void, ignored, deleted, forgotten before they're even read. But when you arrive through a trusted introduction, everything changes. The door isn't locked, it's opened for you. You are not an outsider clawing for attention. You are a guest announced by name. Warm introductions multiply your odds of success tenfold. Cold approaches are arrows in the dark, random, desperate, easily deflected. Warm paths, they are escorted processions, trumpets at the gate, guards standing aside. You enter with legitimacy already stamped on your forehead, and here lies your problem. You beg strangers for attention. You fire off limp, pitiful messages. You pray someone grants you 5 seconds of their life. And what happens? You are dismissed. Not because your ideas have no value, but because you have no trust chain. Without it, you are invisible. You are a foreigner in hostile land. Machiavelli understood this centuries before email, centuries before LinkedIn. He warned rulers never to rely on auxiliaries, foreign soldiers, for survival. These arms, he wrote, may be useful and good in themselves, but for the man who calls them in, they are always disadvantageous. Why? Because auxiliaries do not fight for you. They fight for themselves. They cannot be trusted. They are not yours. and a cold approach is the same. Alien, mistrusted, weak. It is the auxiliary army of networking. But a warm path is your citizen army, rooted in shared ground, bound by trust, fighting with loyalty. So what does this look like today? It is simple. A double-opt introduction is your passport. A trusted gatekeeper stamps it, and suddenly you are not a stranger. You are vouched for. And that legitimacy cannot be forged, cannot be faked, cannot be manufactured alone. So what would Machiavelli do? He would never grovel before strangers, never waste hours firing blind arrows into silence. He would forge alliances with the true power brokers, the connectors, the gatekeepers, the masters of trust. He would keep his forwardable blurb ready, short, precise, crafted like a weapon. He would hand it to his referrer with surgical clarity, mind a double-opt intro, and once the bridge was granted, he would honor it. No rambling, no wasting of time, his words sharp, his exchange crisp, his exit decisive, always leaving with a clear next step. Because here is the truth, every cold shot scraps for crumbs. But warm paths walk you to the head table, where the feast is rich, where the wine flows, where true power dines. Remember this, cold shots scrape for scraps. Warm paths feast at the head table. This is Law 4 of networking power, warm paths. Trust chains over cold shots. Stop appearing only when you want. Become a constant presence. Power does not come from one dramatic moment. Power does not arrive in a single strike of lightning. It comes from rhythm, from repetition, from a steady drumbeat that others cannot ignore. Relationships do not compound on the first touch. They deepen on the second, the third, the fifth, the 10th. Cadence breeds trust, and trust is the currency of power. But you vanish. You disappear into silence for months, and when you resurface, it is only with a desperate ask, grasping, needy, parasitic. Do you not see how contemptible that is? To them, you are not a partner, you are a parasite, a name that emerges only to take, never to give. Would you respect such a creature? Number. You would resent it, dismiss it, forget it, and that is exactly what they do to you. Machiavelli understood this long before the first email, long before the first network. He wrote, "A prince should guard himself against being despised or hated, and generosity exercised in such a way that it does not harm you will bring you renown. Inconsistency breeds contempt, but steady, generous presence, small signals of value, delivered without demand, builds respect, builds loyalty, builds renown." So what does this mean for you today? It means you must stop waiting for grand gestures to save you. It means you must engineer trust through cadence, small, deliberate touches, a rhythm of value, never sporadic, never desperate. And what would Machiavelli do? He would plan his cadence like a military campaign, ruthless, precise, timed to perfection. Within 48 hours of meeting someone, he would follow up. While the connection is still warm, still alive. At the 14-day mark, he would deliver a resource, a sharp insight, useful, but never needy. At 60 days, he would return with a meaningful update, results, progress, proof of momentum. And between these markers, he would rotate his arsenal, an introduction, a chart, a key piece of intelligence. Each one subtle, each one calculated, each one a reminder of his presence. Because Machiavelli knew the steady hand commands loyalty. The sporadic hand breeds suspicion. Think about the people you remember most. They are not the ones who appeared once and vanished. They are the ones who returned again and again. Each touch small but relentless. Each signal whispering the same message. I am here. I am valuable. I am consistent. That is what makes you unforgettable. Not noise, not desperation, but rhythm. So burn this into your mind. Cadence makes you unforgettable. Absence makes you disposable. This is Law 5 of networking power. Cadence, consistent, non-ask touches. Stop begging vaguely. Engineer binary yeses. Vague requests die. Not because people hate you, not because they wish you harm. They die because no one has the time or the patience to figure out what you mean. If they have to think too hard, your message rots in their inbox. Ignored, deleted, forgotten. Power does not respond to mush. Power responds to precision. A sharp, specific, time-bound ask gets executed. A vague, sloppy request gets tossed into the void. And here lies your disease. Your requests are weak. You write lines like, "Let me know if you can help." That is not an ask. That is a burden. You've just dumped the labor onto them. You've forced them to interpret your meaning, to carve out energy they do not have. And powerful people never waste energy. They ignore you, not out of cruelty, out of efficiency. Machiavelli knew this truth. He wrote, "It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret." Do you see? Precision is action. Vagueness is paralysis. Leaders win by making bold, decisive moves. The hesitant are destroyed. So when you approach with a vague ask, you broadcast hesitation. You appear uncertain, weak, undeserving. But when you arrive with precision, you signal strength. You command respect. You are worthy of a yes. So what does this mean for you today? It means your job is to eliminate friction. Take what is complex and carve it into something simple. A binary yes or no. That is how you make the powerful move. Now ask yourself, what would Machiavelli do? He would frame his ask in one line, one sentence, surgical, brutal, impossible to misinterpret. He would make it binary, answerable with a single word. He would make it time-bound, so urgency pressed down like a blade at the throat. And most of all, he would make it effortless to execute, offering them a ready-made blurb, pre-packaged, so they could act in seconds. He would never write, "Let me know if you can introduce me to investors." That is weakness. That is work dumped onto another man's shoulders. He would write, "Would you be open to forwarding the short blurb below to one investor in your circle this week?" One sentence, binary, time-bound, zero friction, and when the ask is sharp, decision makers do not hesitate, they act. So burn this into your mind. Vagueness kills. Precision converts. This is Law 6 of networking power. Precision asks. Make yes frictionless. Never forget, never delay, repay faster than they expect. Power does not only grow from strength, it compounds through memory. The one who remembers and the one who repays, quickly, decisively, builds alliances that cannot be broken. But you forget. You forget names. You forget favors. You forget to close the loop. You take and then vanish. And in doing so, you reveal yourself for what you are, a parasite. You treat allies like tools, and in return, they treat you the same, disposable, forgettable, erased. Machiavelli understood that memory is the spine of loyalty. He wrote of Cesare Borgia, a man feared but also admired. When Borgia conquered a rebellious province, he placed a cruel minister in charge to do his dirty work. Punishments, executions, blood in the streets. And once order was restored, Borgia executed that same minister in the town square. Publicly, visibly, the people rejoiced. They hated the minister, but they respected Borgia. Why? Because he timed it perfectly. He understood that memory, paired with timing, decides everything. It is the difference between being seen as weak or being remembered as unforgettable. The same law applies to you. If you remember details, if you repay before anyone expects it, if you close the loop without delay, you cement power. You prove you are not a parasite, but a partner. So what does this look like today? It is not complicated. A light CRM to track details. Prompt thank yous delivered within days. Public credit shouted loud when victories arrive. These are your modern weapons, and they send one clear message. I never forget who helped me rise. Now ask yourself, what would Machiavelli do? He would log everything, names of families, interests, projects, weaknesses, strengths, nothing forgotten. He would always close the loop within 7 days. Here's the result of your introduction. Thank you. He would credit allies publicly, so the world knew exactly where his loyalty lay. And so allies felt bound to him by honor and reputation. And most of all, he would repay faster than expected, with speed, with force, with surprise. Because generosity delivered on time is courtesy, but generosity delivered early, before they ask, before they even expect it, that is strategy. That is how you shock allies into permanent loyalty. So think carefully. Who do you remember most? The one who forgot you, or the one who stunned you by repaying twice as much, twice as fast? That is the edge. That is the Machiavellian move. So burn this into your mind. The memoryless are forgotten. The grateful are immortalized. This is Law 7 of networking power, reciprocity and memory, track, thank, compound. Networking is not friendship. It is not casual. It is not polite. Networking is empire building. Hosting gives you the throne. Scarcity makes you indispensable. Positioning elevates your rank. Warm paths grant you legitimacy. Cadence builds endurance. Precision secures execution. And memory. Memory forges loyalty that compounds across years, across victories, across empires. These are not tips. These are not tricks. These are laws, hard, sharp, unbending, strategies of domination, weapons of power, rules carved in steel for those who refuse to remain ordinary. Play them well, and your network will not simply grow. It will bend, it will orbit, it will kneel. Because in the Machiavellian game, you are not here to be remembered as friendly. You are here to be remembered as inevitable.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.